it's Justine Mahoney with Bangert, and I'm here with
Mikkel Hadsel.
And Mikkel, you're with Graham Construction in Des Moines. Mikkel, can you tell me a little bit about your role at Graham and then also about what Graham Construction does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the Vice President of Finance over at Graham. I've been there for just about 18 months, I think it is now. So relatively new there, but been in construction my entire career. Graham Construction is a commercial contractor, general contractor, specialized in healthcare, light industrial, private education.
You've been in the industry a long time. You've also been a Sage 300 Series customer for a long time at multiple companies.
Yep.
And so you got to Graham and fairly shortly afterwards really kind of said, hey, we want to look at it intact, Sage Intact Construction. So can you tell me a little bit about what triggered the want to look at something different, something more modern for the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming into Graham, introduced to a lot of, I would say, antiquated processes. They did not use the system, meaning Sage 300, to its intended purpose or capacity. A lot of inefficiencies in these processes that we were using. It also helped that I heard that support for 300 was going to go away at some time or at some point, and given all of the really unique processes at Graham, it made sense to try to be on the front end of that. I knew we were going to need a lot of support going into that transition, and they also needed a solution that integrated well with Procore. 300 did integrate, it was just very clunky. I would say it was clunky. So just looking for, to increase or improve efficiencies, integrate technologies, that's it.
Great. And so when we first started talking, we talked about our deployment process, how we do things differently at Bangert, and I know you've implemented software solutions before. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How would you say? What do you say about Bangert deployment? How, with that process, what feedback do you have on going through that and so forth?
Well, I'll kind of talk on the first deployment that I ever did with Bangert, just briefly.
Okay.
I think it's worth it.
Sure.
So implemented Sage 300 at a prior employer 9 years ago, I think now. Yeah, 9 years ago, 2015. And it was a very positive experience. Went through it very quickly. I remember being given a timeline that was going to take much longer, but we got it done, I think, in half the time.
Great.
And so when it came time to deciding who we were going to use for Sage Intact, it seemed like a no-brainer. We did vet out a couple other companies just to kind of satisfy our leadership team and make sure, I was doing my due diligence. And we came right back to Bangert. And so far, we went live November 1, so 3 months ago, almost 4 months ago, actually. And I would say Bangert went above and beyond during our transition. A lot of unique processes at Graham, and we required a lot of support to try to find a way to make some of those still work.
Yeah.
Or just improve them altogether.
That's great. Yeah, it's definitely a part of our, motive to make sure we have 100% happy customers, that we're available as much as we can and have as many resources online as possible. And I think you guys have really taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
To the fullest capacity, really.
We did.
But it was great because we got to know you guys really well as a company, understand your processes, and kind of put you through, while we have a guided prescriptive approach, also cater to your unique company needs.
Yep.
Through the Bangert Deployment Way.
And just, I would add to that, just brainstorming different solutions to different challenges that we had. We had all of the old processes in place, and we didn't know of any better way to do those. And your team was able to come in and say, no, you really should think about this, maybe doing it this way. And there are several things that we do on a monthly basis where we have saved days. We have saved days because of a improved process recommended by your team.
That's incredible.
It most definitely is.
Because I know you have a lengthy month-end close process as it is.
We do.
Yes, you told me at least. And I don't know, how long is that typically, and how much would you say that's been shortened then?
Well, I would say prior to my arrival, I think it was around a 30-day close period, which was really unfathomable to me when I came in. We can do this in half that. It's no big deal. And then I get in there and I'm like, okay, maybe we can't. I would say, again, we're still just I think we've only closed 3 months so far. So we are, I think this last go around we had it down to 16 days.
Wow.
But I foresee much shorter in the coming months because we were going through an audit just this last go around as well.
Okay.
So slows you down just a little bit.
About cut in half.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And I mean, we're here at Sage Transform, and all the leadership at Sage keeps talking about how it's their goal to keep shortening the month-end close, as I think you've heard. And you're a testament to that.
Yep.
Using Sage Intacct Construction to help do things more efficiently, faster, and all that. And I know you guys have a lot of unique reporting needs as well.
We do.
That's another area where Sage Intacct really shines. And can you tell me more about that? How has that helped you with reporting?
Yeah, so 300, we all know the reporting capabilities or report writing capabilities out of that system. You need to have knowledge outside of that system with crystal reports. Myself and most of my team, our knowledge was very limited. So what we could do with those reports was very limited. That resulted in lots of different reports with lots of different information. Well, now with Sage Intacct, you have the ability to report on a bunch of different areas to get all that information into one report. That's important to us because we are producing reports for everybody in the company, and they all want to see things just a little bit differently. So it's a time saver to have reports that we can get narrowed down just to the information that department or that person wants. But the other really time-saving piece of this whole thing is the dashboards. Instead of them having to wait for us to send them these reports, we just say, okay, it's loaded to your dashboard.
That's incredible.
And they can go out there and grab them.
So what do they say about it? Everybody that's not in accounting
well,
has a dashboard.
At first there was a little resistance, and it really was just at first. I would say, maybe not resistance, maybe just a little wariness. But once we kind of taught them and showed them how it was going to work and that they didn't have to wait on us anymore, I think that was the key statement for them. Like, oh, we don't have to wait on you. You mean I can start this maybe when I'm at home if I want to, or if I'm going to be out, I don't have to wait till I'm back in the office. They liked that part of it. And then once they got used to using it, then they're like, oh, can you do this? Can you add this? And can I have my own dashboard? Because some of them have slightly different needs.
Yeah.
And so the generic one that we built out for project managers, it may not have worked for all of them. And we're able to kind of customize and get them what they need.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear, because we want it more than just accounting in that system, to be able to utilize it and be efficient, and just to do that, to collaborate and communicate with other team members. And it's good to hear that positive feedback on that. So what else in the system have you guys really taken advantage of, or other, I know you've been in it just for a few months.
Yeah.
There's probably still more that you're, I'm guessing, wanting to put in place potentially, but what else have you guys really liked about Sage Intacct Construction?
So in our days prior to Sage Intacct, all of our pay applications or invoices to our clients, billings is what Sage Intacct calls it, they were all being done in Excel outside of the system, and then just manually put in as like a quick bill. Huge margin of error. And cleaning all of that up once we switched to Intacct, because we found out so much. I mean, you kind of have to go back through and look at everything in totality. You realize, oh, we're off, $100 here or $1,000 here. We need to reconcile this. So today with Intacct, we have our project managers going in and they're drafting their own pay applications. Everything's being done in the system. So from month to month, everything rolls over exactly as it's supposed to, instead of through an Excel spreadsheet.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a major improvement for the entire company. So another area with payroll, we used to upload all of our billable time in this massive spreadsheet. We were talking 3,000 to 4,000 lines of data. It took somebody all day to do it. It was not a nice spreadsheet, and it was constantly, well, I don't want to do this anymore, I think she should do it. People trying to pass off the responsibility. It was just unenjoyable. Nobody wanted to do it. And with Sage Intacct, we're using the transaction definitions to do that all automatically through payroll. So
awesome.
nobody has to do it. All we need to make sure that we're doing is setting up transaction definitions when we set up a new job and updating if we renegotiate rates, and that's it. The system takes care of everything else.
That's awesome. Sounds like a massive improvement
Oh
in
my
many
goodness,
ways for you all.
When I said we're saving days, that is one example.
Yeah.
We are saving days.
Well, that's a great example. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, what would you say otherwise about going through Bangor deployment? Have you popped any new people in any of the classes yet? Have you, we'd really try to make it so that you can have flexibility and bring new people in, or somebody can repeat classes. Have you taken advantage of that so far?
So we started our deployment with a team of 5, I believe it was, just 5 of us. And then we hired a new staff accountant, 1. We did have her start to dabble in some of these classes. Now that was kind of early on in our deployment. Beyond that, though, I don't know that we have had a need to have anybody else sit through any Bangor deployment classes. Our project managers, they have a very, I would say, focused objective when they get into Sage Intacct.
Sure.
And so we just kind of put together some of our own screenshots and training videos for them.
Okay, sure.
Just because we know what they're looking for, it's relative to them, and they can get the information very quick.
Yeah.
But you never know. We may have a need to put somebody else through some of these deployment classes. And as our team evolves and we bring on new people, I wouldn't hesitate to push them out there. I don't expect anybody on my team, and I'm probably not going to have time to fully train them on everything that Sage Intacct can do. So those deployment classes would be very helpful.
Yeah,
very helpful.
That's what we're after, is to take that away if you ever have to do that.
Yep.
Because we know turnover happens and whatnot, or you scale up and you need to add more staff or whatever happens. And
I'll add also, as we are getting more comfortable with the system and trying to use it to its fullest, capacity, going back and looking at some of those videos, if it was something that we're really trying to hone in on this, maybe we're just touching the surface, going back looking at those videos to get all of the information. Is helpful. We have done that, just our finance team.
So if you were to compare it to like your 300 hourly implementation, because we were doing it hourly at that point in time, still the old traditional method, what would you say was different? Did you like it better, deployment versus hourly?
That's a great question. 2 very different approaches. I think what I would say is the first, the hourly approach, I think we felt a little bit rushed when we were going through that, because it was like try to make the most of the time that you have allotted for you. Maybe there was a little bit more accountability with making sure you're on time to meetings or whatnot. But I feel like when it was hourly, maybe there wasn't the time to dig into those really small little details that really help improve processes. And with this new approach, we were able to do that. We weren't afraid of, okay, well, we're going to get billed so much for this. Let's ask the question. Let's figure out the solution while we have them, and it will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and that's what we're after is we don't want to bring any change orders to the table. We want you to be able to get the most out of the system for what you're paying for. And no more. So
I would say, with our team, I feel like we all have the mindset, if we're finding something, we stumble across something, I should say, and it's a huge, it's a significant improvement maybe to what we were doing, even with direction from your team. We're sharing it back with you guys.
Yeah.
And not having that hourly, like, timer, if you will, I think we feel comfortable doing that. Like, we're not wasting your time, we're not wasting our time, we're collaborating.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we want. We want a collaborative relationship, and we, you gave us some good feedback on our deployment process as well, and we changed the way we do things a bit because of that, and it's all been very positive.
Good.
We've had lots of great feedback from customers, even since you guys have been through deployment, how well the process has worked for them. Is there anything about Intacct, though, in general, that maybe has surprised you or pleasantly surprised you about the system that you weren't quite expecting? Or, are you doing something unique in it that you never thought you'd be able to do?
I mentioned earlier the job costing being, sorry, I said job costing, but it's the billable time getting processed right through payroll.
Yeah.
I had some real doubts if this was going to work. We ended up, in order to get that to work, I think we ended up nixing a part of construction payroll. It was a certain feature, and I can't remember, it was too long ago, but we just said, no, we're not going to do it that way. And I think it opened up the window for us to really use that transaction definition tool to its fullest capacity. That was a huge surprise. I did not know that. I didn't think we were going to be able to get it done. I thought we were going to be stuck doing this import forever.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that we don't have to do that. Any other big surprises? I'd say the closing process altogether, it's a lot smoother. Being able to build out that workflow on the dashboard and just, have to go to one place and all my clicks are there.
Yeah.
Instead of we're in 300, we had, I don't know how many different reports that had to be exported. We needed to manipulate, had to do research. We have cut that down so much.
That's great.
I didn't know if that was going to happen either. I was really focused when we were transitioning. I was focused on each of my teams, kind of what their wants and desires were, and trying to free up some of their time. I just figured, close will be closed, and it's never easy, and that's just the way it is. But I have been pleasantly surprised. It actually is much easier than what it has been in the past.
And just for frame of reference, how many folks do you have on your accounting team? And then also, how about your project managers that are in the system? How many?
Yeah, so the finance team, we are a team of 6.
Okay.
We have IT under us, so if you include that, we're a team of 7.
Okay.
Project managers, we have, I think, about 12 in the system between all 3 of our different regions. And then we have about 10 project engineers, because they assist the project managers in some of the reporting that they're looking at on a monthly basis. We set up the dashboard for them, so they go out there and pull those reports for project managers.
Yeah.
So project managers can keep their focus on maybe a little bit bigger ticket items.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you have a lot of people then collaborating in the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing everything and all that.
Yep.
Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that is thinking about moving to Intacct, thinking about going through Banger deployment? Any thoughts or tips you might have helping them prepare, or suggestions?
Yeah. Well, I've already talked to a couple companies, ones that you may know about and ones that you don't know about.
Sure.
I've relayed positive feedback on the entire process.
Thank you.
It's not easy. I'm not relaying that. It's not easy. It is difficult, but it pays off in huge ways in the end. Tips that I have given to folks include, take your time. When I did 300, it was like rush, but we could do that. This isn't a system that you want to rush. You want to make sure you get things set up the right way for your company the first time. Going back and trying to fix things, it's a lot of rework. You don't want to do it. So get it set up, talk to others, talk to other companies, see what they're doing. You can get a lot of ideas from other folks, things you or your team just weren't thinking about, and find as many resources as you can. Joining the Q&A sessions, that's a really good place to hear what other people are doing.
Yeah.
They come to the table with questions, and sometimes they're questions you didn't know you had.
Yep.
So attending those sessions, very beneficial, very, very beneficial. What else? I think that's all I can think of right now.
All good. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're after, right? Is to go at your own pace. You know, you can go as fast as you want or as slow as you need to go.
Yeah.
And you're right, don't rush it, because this is a change you're going to make for a very long time.
Yep.
Hopefully. It should be that way.
Yes.
And that's exactly what our process is built out to do. So you can go at your own pace. You don't have to be rushed through the hourly process and be limited, right, to just the time that you're allotted in that hourly basis. So, no, that's great feedback. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so being able to work with a new system and being newer in your role at the company, was it easier or better for you to say, you know what, we're going to start from scratch and a brand new system, rather than let me go ahead and make 300 work, see what we can do to fix it? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think it helped that I had a lot of experience with Sage 300, many years. I knew what that system was capable of, and I knew that Graham was not using it. They were barely scratching the surface of what Sage 300 could do, but the way they had set up that system, I don't know if they would have ever gotten there with Sage 300. So, you know, as I looked to the future, and it was pretty early on at my time at Graham when I started, with the support of the leadership team at Graham and the support of the finance team, it was very exciting to even have the, I would say, opportunity to entertain the idea of switching to a different system. And then once we, you know, demoed and everybody could see what the system could do, oh, it was very exciting. I was very excited to get going. I think I remember saying on the first call, like, when do we start?
I do remember that. I know you were hesitant. I remember you being hesitant at first, and then I remember you saying that. I was like, wow, you really changed your mind on that once you saw stuff. So.
I was a little weary about the go at your own pace deployment, and I think I communicated that to your team. I was very worried about it, just because I was used to the prior deployment process with 300. But it ended up being a very positive experience, and I feel like we had more support from your team than we had under the other deployment model.
Great, yeah, that's exactly what it's built for.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit more about payroll, because I know you guys, as you kind of already said, you've got a lot going on with payroll.
Yep.
So, I mean, more detail around it. Do you do a lot of certified Davis-Bacon type jobs? Are you union at all? What is that like for you guys?
Absolutely. Our payroll is very complex. We have a team member who is dedicated to only payroll.
Okay.
That is her entire function at our company. We process about 165 paychecks on a weekly basis.
Significant. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We are a union. We're signatory with, I believe we're up to 11. Don't quote me on that. I think it's 11 different unions in all different regions of Iowa and then eastern Nebraska.
Okay.
We do have some Davis-Bacon requirements on specific jobs. We did not utilize Sage 300 or Intacct for those wages. It was a job that started many years ago and just kind of continued the process on that until it was finished. It is now done. We get another one. We know we can use the system for it, so we're kind of excited about that. And then, as I already mentioned, the billable costs that we bill every week as well. It's just another level of complexity with our payroll. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really complex about
three operations.
our payroll. I don't think so. I don't think there is.
Okay. Yeah, so you are a former 300 customer, and you were used to spending a fair amount less on 300 renewals than you are on Intacct now. We have a lot of customers that, we talk about the pricing of Intacct, and they're a little bit gun shy on it because it's more than they're used to. Sometimes 3-4 times the cost of what they're spending on 300 today. What would you say to them about the value that Intacct brings as compared to the actual price of the subscription?
Well, when we were first researching Intacct and kind of getting all of that pricing information, as well as just more information in general about the software, we looked at a couple other distributors of Sage, and we also looked at a couple of different softwares. So we had a wide array of different products and vendors that we were comparing, and I would say Sage Intacct, for what you get for the money compared to the other solutions that we researched, it's not the most expensive, it's not the least expensive, it's right in the middle, but when I compare it to the one that was more expensive and the one that was less, it's leaps and bounds, providing way more productivity than what either of those systems would have provided us. As far as the value that the system brings for us, so when I started at Graham, our finance team was actually larger than what it is now. And for reasons I'm not going to share today, our team did shrink down to, at that time, I think we only had 5 of us. And there was some concern about, are we going to, replace these other couple people? And I knew we were looking at transitioning to a different software, and I really thought there was an opportunity to kind of consolidate some of the responsibilities, because I knew what Sage Intacct could do as far as our efficiencies go. And happy to say that we did replace one of those roles, but the other one we have not had a need to replace. So if you're thinking dollars, yes, it is costing us more, but it's not costing us as much as a whole nother person on our team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and with today's shortage of accounting talent, as I'm sure you've seen, it only makes sense to invest in something that's going to take a load off your plates that somebody could otherwise be doing that doesn't need to be doing with, because the technology can handle it.
Well, they said today, and I thought it was very fitting. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. Sorry. Instead of bogging down one person with a lot of manual tasks, you are empowering them to do something more productive and more rewarding with their life.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at that.
Yes, no more evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
And, things like that.
Yeah. Just having more rewarding responsibilities.
Yeah.
Instead of, I'm the person that does all the data entry of so-and-so information.
Yep. So do you mind telling us what other software, you don't have to talk about the Sage vendors, but what other software you were looking at or considering in the process?
If I can remember the name of them. One was like CompuDesk or something. It went by another name though.
Computeries, maybe?
Yes.
Computeries?
Yes, that was it. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's I would say, more simplified, do you want to call it ERP system? I don't know if I would exactly call it that, but it was much more simplified than Sage Intacct, and it was way less expensive. Expensive. But in that particular instance, it was you get what you pay for. And then the other one was an Oracle program. NetSuite. Yes, it was NetSuite. Yep. And that one was a very robust program. It was not as out of the box or off the shelf type of product as what Sage Intacct is. If you wanted it to do certain things, it was, you have to buy that.
Especially for construction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And at one point we were told by them, don't use our payroll. Use a third party. Well, that is not going to fly. And the price tag with that particular program was astronomical. I think it was twice the price.
Wow.
And it had a lot of different dimensions, but it was to that point, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Our data entry would have increased so much just to meet all of the different dimensions that were available. There's no way.
Yeah.
We would have maybe had to hire another person for all the data entry that would have been required.
Good thing you
from
didn't
one
make that
extreme
choice.
to the other. Yeah, I feel like Sage Intacct has the perfect amount of dimensional reporting available to us. It's not too much, but it's enough that we can provide all of these different reports to different departments, different locations. So,
well, and speaking of like people power, I know it's tricky to fit in a deployment in your day-to-day job, and we have that come up all the time with prospective customers. They're always like, well, we don't know how we're going to do this. We don't have time. There's never a good time. We always tell people, first of all, how did you all handle the extra load, deploying the software while also doing your day jobs?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I thought this deployment was going to go much like the Sage 300, and I learned very quickly it was not going to go that way, and we needed to slow down. And I would say that was the big thing. We did take our time. I think from start to finish, we were 6 to 7 months. But our initial go live date was 3 months. And we learned, okay, we're going to push this. We're going to push it out. So having that honesty with ourselves is what really helped us. But on the day-to-day, even once we made that decision, I don't really think it was too difficult. I mean, the classes, again, they were at our pace and what we could do. There were a couple late nights, as we got closer to our go live date, and trying to get all of our data into the new system. I would say actually that was the most challenging part of the entire transition, is when you're kind of past that, hey, we're testing, to, okay, it's time, we have to get the real data into the system, and you're creeping up on that go live date. There's a push there. There is a push, but I think when everybody chipped in, it was doable. It's not the worst thing I've ever been through.
Good. Yeah. We never say it's going to be easy. We don't sugarcoat it, but we're at least trying to make it easier with the process that we have put in place. So.
I'd say you've done a really good job.
Great.
That deployment model, again, go at your own pace.
Great.
But know what your pace should be.
Last question I have is, since we're at Sage Transform, the announcement of Sage Copilot, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a couple of people from my team here with me, and we all sat there and listened to the same, conversation, and we're very excited for it. I think it's going to be great. And not even just Sage Copilot, some of the other things that, they were referring to coming down the line, excited for those and how Sage Copilot integrates with, those other enhancements. I can't stop thinking about, okay, what is this going to be like in a year from now?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is this going to be like? And, we have somebody on our team who is planning for retirement, and with this Sage Copilot, I'm thinking like, what is that going to look like? Is this another opportunity? Do we need to backfill that position with full-time? Can it be part-time? Do we have more options than what I thought we had previously?
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Sage Copilot is Sage's new AI tool. It's generative AI. It's going to act as a productivity assistant to help you do more with less mundane, doing less mundane tasks and so forth. Basically taking off a lot of that small day-to-day stuff that nobody really wants to do anyway. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I would.
So.
Necessary evils.
Well, great. Thanks, Nicole, for your time. Really appreciate it. And
My pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of Transform.
Thank you.